Hello everyone, welcome to Not Your Tamil Auntie. My name is Suja, and today I've actually got, well, I don't even know how to describe her because she's just like here, there, and everywhere. So, Madhu, how am I meant to best describe you?
Wow. I don't know where to start because I don't rarely stick to one area of my life. You're right. I have multiple hobbies, multiple things I focus on, but to the outside world, I think how the majority describe me or see me is as that career-driven, independent girl who you never know where she is because she travels so much, and that just about summarizes it on a higher level. But you'll find me having a different hobby every 3 months and trying to pursue new things and doing all sorts of different things. So people who've been following me on social media, and also, yes, I do social media and influence stuff as well. But even that has been consistent, that I've been doing content creation for 7 years, 10 years plus actually, but never stuck to one topic, one area. And this year I started my wedding content creation business as well. So here I am.
So, do you sleep? Is that a thing?
I sleep plenty actually, because sleeping is the number one priority in my life over food. You'll be surprised. Some people can not skip food and get really like grumpy. For me, I can skip food happily, but I can't skip like sleep. It's a must.
No, I understand where you're coming from because sleep is a must for me. Food I can take or leave. I'm just like, nah, it's fine.
Exactly, exactly. So I do sleep. Yeah, I do find the time.
So obviously, Mother, I met you through when we launched NYTA because I came across, I think, one of your TikToks or your Instagram where you spoke about your ADHD. So can we just kind of start off on there? Because in fact, I think potentially a lot of your kind of experiences or hobbies, etc., might come potentially from your ADHD. What do you think?
Of course, that's why I have a different hobby every 3 months. I still can't decide what I love doing because I'm so multi-passionate about different things. Would you like to know like how it was growing up with ADHD, or how I got my diagnosis when I realized I had it? I'll let you decide.
Pretty much kind of all of it, really. I mean, like, did you always kind of know that something?
No, no, I honestly didn't. So actually, I had an awareness of my traits being the way they were, and I was very self-aware of my traits. I didn't think that any of it was weird, different from other people or anything like that. I just thought that's my personality. So a lot of my ADHD traits I attributed to that just being my personality. So over the years, my friends would point out, oh, she's always late. Oh, she doesn't make an effort. She always rocks up last minute. She can't stick to timings. Or she just studies last minute before the exam. Those sort of things. And I used to be like, yeah, that's just me. Like, that's just my personality. Like, I just can only switch on my brain the day before my exam and it doesn't work before and stuff. So I didn't think there was anything wrong. And even funnily enough, like all of my housemates at uni had, like, the second year in, they realized that they had something and they went and got tested because they did free testing at uni, which I wish I did because, and this is to the university students, if you think you have it, there's so much funding at university, they'll do it for free, and provide you with the right equipment and everything if you need the adjustments, which I completely missed out on. But I had a dyspraxic housemate, I had a dyslexic housemate. In fact, the entire house had something, right? And I was like, well, I don't think I have any of this because I am fine with numbers and I'm fine with spelling. So I don't think I have anything.
Yeah.
And then I also studied chemistry at university, and so a lot of my chemist fellow colleagues, are like students, we just happened to be on some sort of scale of something. But I was like, well, I don't have any of this, right? So that was uni, and I got through uni with just thinking this is my personality. But when it really hit me was when I was in corporate and I started my first corporate job, and I struggled to like keep up with things. I was really overwhelmed because certain traits you need in the corporate world are not made for a neurodivergent person, and a person without it will be fine, but if you have ADHD, you will really start to feel a sense of you're more likely to get burnt out. Over the last few years, I've had so many instances of being burnt out and then getting myself back up. There's so many times where I've been diagnosed as depressed and I'll be really low, depressed, and anxiety I would go down, then come back up and feel fine, be low and come back up, and it was always like that. And I was like, I don't really feel like depression is the right label to put on me, and I
Mm.
always refused to take depression medication because I just didn't feel like it was the right thing. Something in me told me it's not right. And then lockdown happened, and thank God for TikTok. I guess the algorithm figured out I have ADHD and started showing me ADHD people and said, like, oh, this is the life of an ADHD person. This is what they struggle with. And I was like, hold on. Why do I do all of this? And why is this thing called ADHD? I thought this is just how people are.
Yeah.
And I started like going into my dark hole of researching about it. And I was like, damn, I check every single box. There wasn't a single thing on that was like, that's not me. That's definitely me. So yeah, that's how I found out. But I was like not officially diagnosed, had accepted that I had it. But I was like, maybe also I'm going like, I would gaslight myself into thinking maybe I'm just crazy. Like maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe I'm like taking that label of someone who's seriously like has this like difficulty or learning disability or has a disability I'm trying to claim I have it when I maybe don't, right? So I felt guilty also putting that label on myself, but I pretty much felt like I had it. So I ignored it for a couple years. And then last year at work, I really started to like struggle. I burn out extremely. I went to resign and they were like, why are you resigning? And I said, well, I'm really tired. I got to a point where you would actually probably think it is depression because it did make me depressed. Depression is a side effect of untreated ADHD. So they were trying to give me medication and I was just like not keen on it. And I was actually procrastinating getting my diagnosis. So that's the funny part because the system, the way it's set up, especially with the NHS, does not favor a person with ADHD. Because I went to the doctor and said I have ADHD. They were like, cool, fill in this form. Now, what did I do with the form? I just went and left it in my email. I actually even printed it out, had it filled in, but eventually I lost motivation and just didn't send it off. They tried to chase me. I didn't send it. I was like, okay, never mind. Then a whole year later, they called me up again. No, I had the burnout and I was like, okay, maybe it's time I go ask for help again. And this time I'm actually going to do it because I'm like at the bottom of the trenches. Let me do it. But even then, it took so many weeks until I got the diagnosis and did it because I was actually procrastinating so much in the process. And it doesn't help that they make you wait for weeks and months to get it done. And with anyone with ADHD, they'll know that we would do things in the moment, but if something is about to take weeks or months, we've already lost interest in doing that. So that was the end of that. And I finally got my diagnosis privately through work. That was luckily I was, funded to get this private diagnosis. And I'm really like privileged in that way, but I'm still trying to get shared care. I don't know if I'm going to get shared care. And it's a whole journey. But what's helped me now, just having that label and understanding and knowing that certain parts of me that used to get me really frustrated, that used to make me feel low about, they're not things I do on purpose. Like, I'm not intentionally trying to hurt people. I'm not intentionally doing anything, certain things I can't control, but being aware of it makes me also be nicer about it. So in a conversation, if I'm really trying not to interrupt someone, I can actually hold my thoughts saying, okay, you're going to interrupt. Don't interrupt just yet. But yeah, that's the ADHD journey.
Can I just ask, obviously being Tamil, how you as soon as you kind of when TikTok happened and lockdown happened and you kind of saw yourself in these TikTok videos, was that something that you discussed with your parents, the potential of you having ADHD?
Yeah, actually, I went and told my mum because, to be honest, I didn't even bother with my dad. I don't think he would even try to understand. But like, mental health does not exist. Like the concept, even my mum during lockdown found a video somewhere of a Tamil lady describing depression, and she came up to me and she was like, I think I'm depressed. I was like, what? Like, it was so random. It caught me off guard. And it's the fact that that was the first time she heard about depression and mental health. So whoever this lady was, thank you, because that brought it on her table. And then we had a discussion, we talked about it, because one thing about my mum is she's very open-minded to things and like she'll understand and listen, but she was just not raised in a way where that was, the resources weren't there, right? So it was really like kind of shocking, but also funny to me that she just randomly said I'm depressed. But it was also really sad because you don't just come to that conclusion without actually resonating with parts of some, like, whatever the person described, right? So, and for her, like, just to speak about her feelings was like, wow. But when I did tell her about ADHD, she was like, she dismissed it a bit. She was like, I don't understand. You were like, you're fine. You're overthinking it. It's not real. Like, I was like, Mama, trust me, I have this thing. So over the months where I like kept telling the people around me, not just my mom, like other Tamil people saying like I have ADHD, they just laugh at me as like, this is this new label you've just put on yourself and that you think that explains you and what you do, but you don't actually have it. So no one was taking me seriously. They just took it as a joke that I'm just saying it, right? But once I got the diagnosis and I took it to my mom, the fact that a doctor, like a psychiatrist, talked to me and gave me that label and actually like put it on a certificate, she was like, oh, okay, you do have it. And at first she was like, don't tell anyone because they're going to think you're like disabled. And I was like, and so what if I am? And the way I am, she knows I'm not going to take that anyway. The one thing my mum is always worried about is other people. It's not that she's embarrassed of it. She's actually very supportive. She was just more, and I guess it's me parenting my parents sometimes saying, you don't have to worry about the people around you because I'm the eldest in my like family line and everything. So growing up, there's always been this pattern of like, when I do things, it's shameful and not allowed and don't do that, don't travel, don't go to clubbing, don't do this. But I always tell mum, wait till their kids grow up. Give it 5 years. These aunties are going to be in the exact same situation and it's going to be all normalized. But you're taking away my pleasure and my enjoyment from me just because I'm the eldest. And now I have evidence. I have substance to back that up from the previous examples. The first time I started drinking, it was a big deal. I had to hide it and only tell you. But now my cousins drink in front of their parents. Why did I never have that experience? Why did I have to hide it? And it was a secret between me and you. So yeah, it was dismissed, but I'm not going to hide the fact that I have ADHD. Like, it's fine to me. Like anything, and that takes me to my like social media journey. Anything that I've ever done, I've documented because I guess I have the ability, but also I have the space to talk about these things. I don't see it as like a downer. I see it as something positive. Like, okay, like God's blessed me with something that's different, that's allowing me in a community just like to speak to people about it. It's not I see it as special. I see it as a special gift. I don't see it as, yes, it does make my life more difficult, but now I know what's wrong and I can inspire other people about it. And you wouldn't believe how many people have messaged me in my DMs saying, Mother, I have ADHD. Mother, I'm taking tablets. And I was like, all these, and majority of them being girls actually. And I was like, I never thought that there was this many Tamil girls with ADHD, and why has no one ever told me or talked about it publicly? Why was I in my shame alone? And I think they've all been told to also, sometimes they say like, don't tell anyone, or I don't want to talk about it publicly, but this is my tip for you. And I'm like, why is everyone hiding it? Why is this so bad? I see other communities do it fine, and there isn't this shame around having ADHD. And I feel like when it's a boy or a son, it's like more accepted also condition to have. It's like, oh, like I'm in Kulapuridan, he's like that, he was always naughty in school. But girls with ADHD, we weren't really naughty in school, but we were a bit different. It's like, oh, she always does everything she's told, she's always really quiet. So we get told to conform in a different way, which is a shame. But yeah.
No, 100%. I think what I kind of noticed since obviously launching NYTA it is that thing, right, of you don't want to kind of say it out loud, or you don't want to take your kids out, because it's, especially with something like ADHD, then it almost appears on the outside to people that don't know that your kids are naughty or your kids are different, or along those lines. And with boys, it's a lot easier to kind of go, oh well, they're just boys being boys. But with girls, it's so much harder. And even though girls are good at masking, there are things that kind of potentially will come out, and it's that thing of, oh, she's late, or she can't focus on one thing. So those kind of things, unfortunately, are looked down upon, I guess, within the community.
Yeah, for example, I'm quite messy. I'll be honest. My room is always a tip. My mum and like people around me have always had to support me. And I think as a woman, like, for example, if you have ADHD and you get married, you need to really have a partner who is understanding and supportive and like is able to some ways take care of you, because you're not always able to, when you have those like episodes of feeling super low, that is not possible on your own. So you're not going to be compatible with every single person, and that's fine. Like there's always someone in the world for you, right? But I think it's like, I growing up always wanted to say, I don't want to cook and clean, and it's just not for me. Like it's just not what I enjoy doing. I might, but then sometimes I have those spurts of like, I really want to be a chef and cook. But I want, like, that you need a partner who understands that she's just like this. Sometimes she's there in her own mess. And I'm gonna, like, the best example I always use is my grandparents, because my grandma actually does have undiagnosed ADHD. And usually it is like genetic as well. Like it does travel down families. Sometimes I think my mom has it, but just a different version of it. But my grandma and me have the exact same version. So growing up, my mum used to say, your grandma's so messy, like she sometimes forgets to comb her hair, or she doesn't take care of herself properly. Or when we leave the house, it's so funny when you see me and my grandma in the same room trying to go somewhere. We'll get ready, we'll both like put everything on, and then in Sri Lanka, like my grandpa will be like, the auto is here. I don't know what happens the next 30 seconds. Me and her are running around the room. And I'm like, where's the keys? Where's the bag? Where's the card? Where's my shoe? Right? Both of us doing the same thing. But because my grandpa knows how my grandma is like, he'll be at the door, stood with an umbrella, with the hat, with the keys, with the purse, with the money, everything that my grandma owns, being like, I've got it and I've got the keys to lock the house.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. And now my boyfriend actually does the exact same thing when we're on holiday, because he would just be like, I've got the keys, Smarty. Like, I don't hold on to any valuables when I'm with him. And that's the first only space where I get to let loose and do that.
Yeah.
He'll get the keys, he'll get the card, because he knows if it's in my hand, we're going to spend 20 minutes looking for it before we leave. And we won't make it on time. So when I'm with him, I'm on time. But other than that, I'm always late. But I had to learn and adjust, because when I'm solo traveling, of course, I have to be super aware of where everything is. Yeah, so I managed to not lose things in that instance because I have no choice but to like really focus on it. And I think that's why I'm so good at it. But all other times, like I probably do spend still half an hour looking for stuff before I leave, and that's what makes me late.
Like your entire kind of career is like focused on travel, right? So you're out and about everywhere. You've literally just come back from Romania. So how do you do that? Because that can't be easy at all. That must take a lot of organization.
Yes. So there is elements of my job that I do struggle with, and there's elements of my job that really work for me. So for context, I'm an IT consultant, and I did start as a software tester, which is more like a hands-on tech role. That was like sitting in the office looking at something every day and doing the 9 to 5 more like. Then I saw what business analysts and consultants were doing, and I was like, wait, I want to do what they're doing, have a say in decisions and do what they're doing. So I worked my way up to being an IT consultant. And the reason this career has worked for me really well is perfect for an ADHD, because we work in projects or cases. And so every 4 months, we're in a different industry. I've gone through industrial goods, healthcare, consumer goods. Like, we work through so many fast-paced environments and industries so quickly. There's no chance for me to get bored. By the time I get bored on a project 4 months in, I'm already on the next one, right? So in that way, it really does benefit me. And same with the travel. I'm in a different place all the time. Last week I was in Romania. Next week I get to be in Dublin, which is super cool. But for someone who likes structure, it's like their worst nightmare, because I can't put structure into my life sometimes. But for me, because I have ADHD, it's fine. Those elements work. But one thing that doesn't work for me in the job, for example, expenses. I really struggle. So when we go to work trips, we get our hotels and flights obviously paid for, but we have to keep the receipts and upload it into a system. I have had instances even in my last job where I just forgot to do it. We get about a 3-month period, and it comes to the end of year for accounting. If you haven't submitted, you don't get your money back. I've lost out hundreds by saying it's fine. I'd rather like cover it myself because I was too lazy to go in and upload it. And even today, I need to do it tonight because I'm like 2 months behind. So that part of the job doesn't work for me. So there's no perfect job out there. For me, though, I think perfect job would be being an entrepreneur and being able to wake up and do what I want to on a different day. But the bit I would then struggle with is the consistency element, because I like to do something else like every few months. Having said that, it's not an impossible option, because a lot of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world do have ADHD. Their model is usually actually building a company, building a startup, bringing it a good place and selling it off to someone else, and they jump to the next idea. So we're like the geniuses of ideas. We don't execute to the end. You just have to be good enough to come up with something really profitable, run it, sell it, move to the next thing. I've seen it happen. I don't think I'm there yet, but I would like, as a career aspiration, I would love to just have some time in the world to explore like all my hobbies, and like the perfect life for me to be like working for an NGO at one point, doing charity thing in one country, and then starting your own business in another country and doing things in another country, and just hopping from thing to thing to thing, and just having the flexibility to do that. Like, that's my ideal scenario.
Okay. So you obviously mentioned being an influencer before. What came first, the influencing or the travel?
What would come first? Oh,
What came first? Yeah.
the travel. I started traveling at 18, but even at Oh, I don't actually know because I think I've always wanted to do elements of influencing when I was younger, but it just did social media just didn't exist the way it did. I always picked up the camera and always wanted to document everything. I always told my friends I want to shoot a movie and be the director and give everyone a role and write a script. Cameras, editing has always been my interest. Computers, cameras, editing was like an aspect of me. But then also like I always wanted to travel and explore the world, and maybe partially because my mum put me on a plane like 6 months into my life. We went to India frequently and I always wanted to travel alone. I honestly don't know where that urgency came from, but I remember Googling around like when I was 11 or 12 what the legal age was to travel. I would be like, how old do you have to be to travel? And one other thing I always wanted to do also is work. So I always used to Google, how old do you have to be to legally work and earn money? So I actually started working at 13, like doing babysitting, not like a big job, but babysitting for like €3 an hour, which was a lot for me at the time. But yeah, so traveling, as soon as it was legal for me to get on a Ryanair flight, and I think at this time it was even 16, not even 18, if I'm not wrong, I was able to go on a Ryanair flight. We're from Germany actually initially, so I used to fly back to Germany, and that's how I started. But at 18, my friends in Germany wanted to go on a road trip, and I think the surroundings where I grew up in Germany, like I didn't always know how to do it. I didn't always have the resources. Like my parents didn't have it, but I had friends whose parents had resources. So that my friends, so one of my friends, like his parents had, he's like my closest best friend, had a camper van, and I remember him saying, let's at 18 like go on a road trip to like Italy, France, Liechtenstein, Morocco, all these places, right? Like he had it all planned out. And the way he grew up, like Germans raise their kids in a way they can literally do these things. Like they go camping, they go to the slopes to ski, they all do all these things like leading up to 18, that by the time they're 18 they know how to. So I remember going to my mum and saying, I want to go on this road trip. And she was like, who are you going with? And I was like, well, my guy best friend, his girlfriend, and this one other guy. And the thing is, she's known me for like, me and him, we've known each other for like, since we've been like 5 years old. But like letting me go travel on a trip with him, she was like, oh, what are people going to say? But she wanted me to go on this trip, right? So I remember she said, okay, you can go, but you can't tell anyone. I was like, yeah, that's fine with me. I don't need to tell anyone, right? So my mum gave me money and sent me on this road trip around Europe with these friends. And I remember coming back from the trip, like, and getting dropped off to Tamil school on a Saturday because we happened to come back on a Saturday. And she was like, just don't tell anyone. Like, you can't tell them where you were, who you were with. Like, she always did such a great job at protecting me from all the aunties by saying, you can go do whatever you want to do, but just don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
So that was my first ever trip, a big trip that like really like alone with friends where there wasn't any parents, like not a standard family holiday, that allowed me to get into traveling. And even when we're younger.
So,
Yeah.
did your dad know?
Yes, but my dad is like in these things, it's like if mum says and it's fine and she can like convince him, it's fine. But
Okay.
he's a lot more scared of these things than my mum.
Yeah.
So sometimes even growing up, I had to secretly do things without my dad knowing. It's just my mum being like, just go and come back. We're not going to tell anyone, right? But in this case of like traveling with my guy best friend, like she's like, fine. If mum says it's fine, it's fine. But he always like moans saying like, if something happens, it's going to be your fault to my mum. But yeah.
That's standard practice. That's
Yeah.
standard practice. That's standard practice everywhere. So that's kind of where your travel kind of bug, I guess, started from. You've always kind of had it then.
Yeah, it was always within me. It's like I was literally, as cliche as it sounds, I think I was meant to be like a born traveler. I always had the urge within me, even though I didn't have the resources of funding. I think
You were
growing
born,
up,
right, Madhu?
pardon?
You were born in Germany, right?
Yeah, so I was born in Germany, and Germans love traveling, right? So on the weekends, when you come back to kindergarten, even on a Monday, we sit in a circle and they ask you, what did you do on the weekend? Now, my immigrant parents were obviously working all the time, and Saturday, I actually looking back now, that was so wholesome. We would all cook together on a Sunday, and we had a refugee camp nearby, so my parents would literally invite lots of different people over the weeks to come and have dinner at ours and stuff. But for me as a child, I would go on Monday, feel so ashamed that I didn't have these experience. Like everyone would be like, oh, we went to France, oh, we went here, we went there, we went, I don't know, skiing, and I wouldn't have anything to say, right? And anything that was kind of acceptable for them, or what they would understand what I was doing in my spare time. So as embarrassing as it is, and I don't think I've ever shared it on a platform before, but I see no shame in that. I was a child. I used to make things up just to feel like I was included in that, right? So I would be like, yeah, we drove, because we lived on the French border. I'd be like, yeah, we drove to France over the weekend and came back. I was like in like La La Land. I one time said we went to Canada. Like I've never even been to Canada at that point. Now, obviously, looking back, I've been to Canada like 2-3 times, and it's like healing the childhood wounds of like having to make up these things growing up that I didn't have access or resources to, and I was simply just trying to fit in. But I don't blame my parents, or I actually think it's wholesome, and I miss those days on the weekends, the things I did with my parents then. They were actually very wholesome, but just growing up in that community, it just felt really odd to be different and not say, like looking back now, my favorite memory is how much time my parents had for me on the weekends and spending time with them. So not ashamed at all. But yeah, traveling's always been in me, and after that road trip, I think I in some ways, like, I being the eldest daughter, I always knew how to do things independently and like take on random things and be fine and roll with it. And so that skill really helped me with traveling. So even if I didn't have a solution, like, because I wanted to travel so badly at uni, as soon as I got my student finance, I didn't really order any takeout, anything. I was very good at uni. My weekly shop was £20. My £20 shop used to last me 2 weeks. So I just needed £40, and I did zero takeouts. I was super strict. I would allow myself one takeout every quarter. So that's how
Wow.
much traveling meant for me. Yeah. And I used to tutor on the weekend. I used to work at the uni like supermarket to make money on the side. So I've always had like 3-4 jobs at the same time, whilst also being TSOC president. Honestly, when I think back, the amount of energy I had was insane. And on the weekends, I'll be abroad. Like any time I had, I'll go on Ryanair if a ticket costs £50. I remember once saying to my friend, the coach is just £10 to Belgium, let's go. We booked it. We were in a coach to Belgium. We had no accommodation because we didn't have the money for accommodation. So we went through the night, got there at 5 a.m. in the morning, explored Brussels for the whole day, and then left on the 11 p.m. coach, and then slept on the coach, and we're back in London the next day. It did take sacrifices to get to like nearly 50 countries. It's not like the first 10 trips were like me being in a 5-star hotel in all luxury. And I think people have the wrong idea sometimes. I did budget trips to get to somewhere, and then as soon as I became comfortable and started earning money in corporate, you obviously, as you get older, make more money, as to start saving and using in different ways. And the type of trips I go on holiday on, like, it's so different now. I love a resort holiday, which never was an option like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's amazing. So did you say you've done nearly 50 countries?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I need to do a recount because Romania is new to me, Ireland is new to me. I haven't added those two, but I am at 50 soon. I think I'm definitely over 40. I think I'm at 45, 47, something like that. I'm hitting 50 easily soon. And this is not to brag, but when I say 50 countries, this is 50 different countries, but I have gone to some of these countries multiple times, like Canada, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, India. A lot of the countries are now becoming multiple trips. I have no real official count of how many places I've been to how many times. Like, that number of countries doesn't mean anything.
So you've never counted how many times you've kind of been.
Yeah, it's not a count of how many trips. I think I've honestly by now been on 300 plus trips in total.
That's craziness. Do your parents kind of share your love for travel now?
My mom, I think, always wanted to travel. She just didn't have. I think that's actually just the genetics passed down. I think my mom was meant to be a traveler and she didn't get the opportunity. And I think this because even in Germany, there used to be this thing about like a £25 county pass, that a train ticket you could take within our county. Mum would put us on a train every weekend, like maximize that, and you can go see as many cities as you want in Germany with that ticket. So she did take us traveling with the resources she had and something she wanted to do. So really and truthfully, I'm just living my mum's dream, and she helps me, like, facilitates it as well, because she wanted to do this. And she joined me in Malaysia, Thailand. When I went backpacking, I told my mum, like, come to Cambodia and Malaysia, and she joined me for a little while as well. And she had the time of her life. Like, she loves it. It's just life didn't give her the same opportunities that I had.
That's crazy. That's just amazing that you've kind of been allowed to have those kind of chances, right? Because as you it's still very much kind of frowned upon, amongst the Tamil community. Have you never had, I mean, like, obviously not from your mum, but have you never had comments from other members of your family kind of going, when are you going to settle down, or surely you should only be doing this after you're married, or
Oh, plenty. But I think the way I am with my personality as well, like maybe when I was younger, yes, but there wasn't any room for that because of how protective my mum is also of me. They know that if you say something to me, I'm gonna say something back. But it was never directly related to the traveling. So never like sometimes they would say like you can travel more after marriage, and then I would be like, I'll travel again after marriage. I'll go to the same places again with my partner. Why can't I do it once and then twice? Like, I don't let anyone kind of put that on me just because they haven't had the opportunity and this is how their life went, this is how their order went, doesn't mean I have to follow the script. I've never followed the script with anything. So I don't think I also have this fear. I just feel like, look, I'm 28 now and I'm still not too late to get married or anything. There's no right age. And I've seen 50 countries. If I now get married next year or in 2 years or whenever, I still have enough time to explore 50 countries again with my partner. So I don't see the issue. But I think I did, apart from the traveling, as soon as after 25, everyone started putting pressure on my mum about me getting married, saying, oh, like, how long is she going to work these hours for? And like, when is she going to buy a house? When is she going to travel? I mean, when is she going to get married? And like, my parents got a lot of pressure. I always tell my mum, ignore them. Just ignore them. When things are right for me, mum, like, I will be fine. Like, when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and I'll just get married. So it never, but what I used to say to the aunties when they would directly come to me and say, like, when are you going to get married? I'll say to them, Auntie, tell me, do you have someone ready? Like, and I'll tell you my criteria. If he meets all these boxes, I'll get married to him tomorrow. And I have certain standards. So I was like, he can't be the standard guy who like drinks in a car park or who is like going clubbing every weekend. He needs to be financially established like me. He needs to be having a career like me. He needs to have hobbies. He needs to have traveled the world. He needs to be able to support me and cook as well. It's not going to be just me cooking. I'll give them the list. I'll give them the rundown. And I'll say, Auntie, I'm not against marriage. I'm not against men. But find me this guy, even if you have a cousin's son or anyone, I'm open to it. I'm not talking back to you like, I know you're asking me to get married, but I need to find the right guy. So I'm open to it, Auntie. Like, find me someone, I'll marry him tomorrow. And that just normally shuts them down. Like, they don't say, and they're like, yeah, you're right. Like, boys these days are a bit difficult. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. So it's not, I give them examples. Like, I'll be like, yourself, Auntie, like, boys can be a little naughty these days. And some of them are like drinking in car parks. And it's not just safe for me as a woman. So I don't say it in a harsh way, but I just give them the reality check because they're probably thinking of a son or a cousin that's like that. And I say, if you know someone that doesn't do these things and fits my standards, I'm happy to get married. It's not, I don't know why they make it seem like it's the woman's fault for not getting married, because it's not like we're here saying anti-marriage. I mean, if someone's going around looking after someone in the right way and treating a woman right, I don't think anyone would be against marriage.
Yeah, exactly. But it always kind of, well, unfortunately, I kind of talk about this a lot, but we are very much in a patriarchal society, right? And it's so much easier to blame the woman than to say there's wrong with the boys of our society. But it's so cool that you can kind of do it in like a jokey but a matter of fact way that just puts it down as actually, I'm ready, but I just
Yeah, I'm not the problem.
yeah,
I don't think I'm the problem. Yeah,
exactly.
it's
I'm
just
not the
like
problem.
educating
It's the
them.
boys.
You make it seem like I'm the problem. I'm not the problem. I'm ready. I have the job. I have the career. I have the income. I have everything. Why do you think I'm the problem? So
Yeah.
I just educate them on that in a kind, funny way. And to be honest, like if you see a Tamil boy at my age not working at the moment and is trying to figure it out, is trying to get his degree done, nobody says anything, and it's fine. And it is fine. Like I'm not expecting another guy to be on the same page, but it's like why do the aunties never ask the guy? Like why is it pressure only for them after 30 whenever they want to get married?
Fair enough. Just kind of circling back to your career. So, what did you do at uni?
I studied chemistry.
But that's not what you do now.
No, I'm an IT consultant. Okay, that kind of wraps up a lot of the stuff we just said now. So you're wondering how I did that jump, right?
Yeah.
So after my chemistry degree, so how I even fell into chemistry was I did biochem math psychology for A levels, and I did poorly at I was very well understood in the topics, but due to my ADHD, exam results weren't great. So I found this thing called foundation year, and I was like, what is a foundation year? It's essentially an additional year at uni that doesn't count. So I did a 4-year degree, but it was essentially like a nice gap and something I really needed. The extra time that an ADHD person would need just to get like acclimatized things, because that first year of uni was insane for me. The amount of independence that you have to have at uni about where to be, which lecture room, download your timetable, I was so overwhelmed. So I'm glad I had that extra year. After my degree, I actually thought I wanted to go into finance, because actually 60% or 50% of chemistry graduates end up going into the financial sector to do that kind of corporate work, just because there is not many chemistry jobs out there. There
Yeah.
is, but not for the amount of people that study it. And
Yeah.
it is actually a very good degree in terms of how well-rounded you become, because we have modules in forensics, we have modules in physics, we have modules in quantum, we have computing, like coding and those kind of things. So it's a very, and lab hands-on experience, of course. So it's a very well-rounded degree. And the skills you get is what matters in the real working world. It's not about what you study, because most people in corporate have studied something. So a lot of them are engineers, scientists, different things who have this skill. So it's about the skills. And I would say in terms of getting jobs, I've got the hang of it by now. I don't know if my ADHD supports me in any way with that, but when I think my plus point is interviews. I have so far never been rejected from an interview. Like, if I make it to the interview stage, I've got the job. And
Okay.
so when I got even my first job, I went to a careers network fair, and the lady, like my friend, was like, you should try this. And I was like, well, I don't have any tech experience. She was like, trust me, I did computing. You have certain skills, just go talk to her. So when I spoke to the recruiter, and she was like, have you got any office experience? Right. And at the time, like, there was this big fuss about having like office experience, and someone from our background, we don't have the links to just get into an office and get that experience, right? So I was like, no, but I said, no, I don't have office experience, but I've worked at KFC, and that experience taught me anything more than any desk job could have ever taught me. And she just looked at me like, what? Like, no one has ever said that before. Like, she just looked at me blankly. She was like, hold on, tell me more about that. And then I went into like a whole play down of, the kind of things we face to face working at KFC. I've had to clean toilets at 17, and I've had customers spill drinks at me. I've met people of
Yeah.
different abilities. Trust me, like sitting behind a desk would have probably not taught me that much. And she just liked me for saying that. She just liked my personality after that. And so she called me back the next day instantly with the interview. No, actually, the first step was the assessment. And after the assessment, I didn't get enough. So I was on like, I got like 69%, and you need 70% to be considered for an interview. Now, that's not the first time in my life where I've made it 1% off. I swear every single exam in my life, I was 1% off everything. And in that way, I blame the ADHD, like looking at patterns, and that just doesn't work for me. But she liked me. So she called me and said, listen, you got 69%, but I like you, and I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to put you in front of all the directors, and you're going to talk to them. If they like you, you get the job. And I was like, okay, how many is there? She was like, 4 of them. You need to go through 4 rounds. I was like, okay, cool. I did the interview. I got the job. And yeah, so any traditional way of assessing me for a job, we have to do like these online quizzes and stuff. I've been rejected plenty of times because I'm not made for tests. I'm not made for exams. And that's how I ended up in tech. And yeah, it's been a journey ever since. But all this traveling, everything we just spoke about is what I speak about. Like everything we just talked about is what I talk about in interview. I don't put another person on a pedestal. They could be a partner, they could be a senior, like way beyond me on 5 times my salary. I will not put them on a pedestal. I'll give them the honest truth. And I think that is my ADHD trait. Like, I won't hold back. I'll be honest. I'll be transparent.
Yeah.
And at work, no one is a extreme senior to me. Like, obviously, I will give them the respect and all of that. And I know how to behave. And that's where the masking and everything comes in. But in terms of interviews, it does help to impress them. And beyond that, I think I have enough real life experience telling people about solo traveling, telling people about all the like work experience that I have from managing 4 jobs whilst also taking on a degree. They could see this girl was so much more than her academics. She's got so much experience under her belt at the age of 21. Probably, maybe I might have even done more than them by then, whoever's interviewing me. So when I'm talking about all the traveling, they're like, wow, you're so cool.
Yeah.
Just to give you a quick example, I had an interview during lockdown for another job when I was switching jobs, and he got talking to me about like what do you do in your spare time, and I started talking to him about the stock market because I was into stocks during like lockdown, and he was like, "Oh, I'm actually the finance guy in the company. I'm really into stocks." And so we started talking about stock markets. He started recommending me books. In my head, I'm thinking, "Oh, he likes me. I think I've bagged the job." But we're having a honest, frank conversation. It's no longer feels like an interview. We've got a one-on-one human connection, and it was a breakout room interview, and we ended up talking for 45 minutes. He lost track of time. He got a message saying, "Where are you?" And he didn't even have time. He only asked me like 2 questions. He didn't have time to ask me the remaining questions. He was like, "Sorry, I've run out of time, but I like you." So I ended up getting the job. It can help. Experience can help sometimes just to connect with people, and that's what I wish I could preach to all the Tamil aunties in our community. Let your child out their house, out their comfort zone. Let them experience life. Let them figure out how to do things on their own. Stop holding their hands and give them that resilience. Like, they see the outside world as a bacteria that's going to kill them, and I agree, the outside world is dangerous, but if you raise them in a way bit by bit by bit to give them that confidence to be able to go out to buy milk without fear, that's just an example, because I know of plenty of sheltered girls who don't feel comfortable doing that, and it breaks my heart because they come to like 22, 23, and they don't know basic life skills that would literally get them killed outside. There are certain people I wouldn't take on a trip with me because I'm just like, you're gonna get us in trouble because you just don't have that awareness. So that if I could change one thing in our community, and I hope to do so, is give people the confidence to let their kids out and raise them in a way where because I think one thing that will convince our parents is, and for everyone that's asking this question, and for everyone that's struggling with jobs after uni, is if I tell them, let your child travel, it will let them help them get jobs, which is what I've been saying to all my cousins' parents and everyone else. Parents are like, they'll get a job like you. It's like, yeah, they will. Let them travel. They say, yeah. So don't even link it to independence, being strong women. They don't. That doesn't mean anything to them. Like, they don't want that. They're not interested in that. But if I
Where's
say
the
we'll
money?
get them, yeah. If I tell them we'll get them a top job and they'll be employed tomorrow, they'll be like, yeah, I'll let my child go out, take them with you. So that's the trick. That is the trick. And I'm not making it up. Traveling does benefit you. To get jobs, is helped me get every single job so far.
That's just absolutely amazing, Madhu. And actually, that sounds like a really good piece of advice to end on.
Yeah, literally, I think it summarized it.
It did. I'm actually now going to just go and count how many countries I've been to and cry, because there's no way I've been to even half as many as you. But you know my story, so therefore I'm only starting out now, so it's fine. It's fine. I'll get there.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. So thank you so much, Madhu. It was very, very helpful. What is your, because I know you've got a number of Instagram handles. Which one should the listeners kind of follow you on?
If you follow me on Mathu.Sel, S-E-L, on Mathu Sel is my main account on Instagram, and it's the same handle for TikTok. And on the bio on Mathu Sel, you'll see the other ventures and things I'm doing that you can, like, you'll go into your dark hole if you're interested enough to go into all the accounts.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, my lovely. You take
Thank you
care.
so much for
Thank
everything
you.
and for having me on here. Thank you.
No, much for being here. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.